Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Herbally-Inspired Summer Retreat. It is, we're just starting to get into some of the good stuff yesterday, and we've got today and tomorrow, 2 more days that I'll be sharing with you a lot of the tips for having a great summer by using plant support to help you through those trying times in the summertime. So yesterday we talked about kind of what we need to look out for when we're using different types of herbal products and how they have a lot of, well, not herbal products, but skincare products that have an awful lot of chemicals in them that are bad for our skin. You can go watch the replay for that if you missed it. And then we also got into some of the plants that can really help us with wound care, because when we're outside doing a lot more things and having our skin exposed, we end up with a lot more cuts and bruises and stings and things like that. So that was our day 1 review. And today we'll be talking about the plants that can help us with seasonal allergies, how they work, and what we can do to not just use them in the moment, but there are a lot of things that you can do to prevent them from being such a bad reaction in the first place. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will share with you some of my announcements for today, and then we'll get right into the content in our cards, of course. So welcome to day 2 of the Herbally-Inspired Summer Retreat. My name is Allison McGill, and I am the herbalist and owner of The Well Cultivated Life, which is a small herbal plant-focused business. I live in New Hampshire, and I have a very short growing season. Sometimes I wonder why I'm here, but it's just the way the life ended up and how I ended up here. So I wanted to share some announcements with you. And first of all is that we have a VIH instead of a VIP. We've got VIH, very important herbs, spa after party, I'm calling it, that you can join if you would like to jump on for an extra 3 sessions, actually. It's a place where you can come on live on Zoom with me, and we'll go more into the plants that I'm talking about today, but get into them in some more details, ask questions, and so on. We had a glitch yesterday. The session didn't happen, so we have one tonight, tomorrow, and then I'm adding the 3rd session is going to be Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up if you're in the Facebook group. It's pinned up at the top, the link to it, herbalsummerchallenge.com/summer-VIH. And if you're watching live on YouTube, there's a pinned comment in the comment section in the live stream comments that you can click if you'd like to join. So if you are on Facebook, you need to give StreamYard your permission to show your name in the comment stream. And I'm using a program called StreamYard, and I can see the comments from both Facebook and from YouTube, which is awesome. But if you don't give them permission, I can only see the words Facebook user. I can't see your name. On YouTube, I can see whatever you put in because you're logged in to be able to comment anyway. Now, if you are on YouTube and you want to receive the reminders about the Herbal Summer Challenge, you can go to this link here, or the Herbal Summer Retreat, herbalsummerchallenge.com, and just sign up, and then you'll get on the emails and the notifications and the text message notifications if you are interested in doing that. And then the last thing is that we're doing what we're calling skin deep work, which is every day at the end, I'm going to give you a sort of a challenge to take a look at your health or your home or your pantry or your bathroom and see what have you got going on, and what could you do to try to kind of up level yourself into a more herbal oriented self-care for yourself. Now, when you have those answers, and you could just comment in the Facebook group, or you can put your comments down below this video on YouTube. So thanks to everyone that's joining live. And I see that Jana is here, and yes, it worked. She gave StreamYard permission, and it worked. Awesome. And Anne is here. Hi, Anne. Good to see you. And someone else who I can't tell who you are, but good evening to you as well. Now, the prizes I'll be giving away are this awesome book. I showed it to you yesterday, and I'm not sure where I put it now, but called Pure Skincare, which is got amazing recipes, lots of information for all kinds of different skincare products. And I actually adapted some of these recipes from here, combined them with my existing recipes for the herbal lotions class that we did last year, which is part of my upcoming course that's opening up next week. So this is one of the prizes. And then the other prize will be a custom blended herbal facial steam kit. So you can take care of your skin. You can create a herbal bath and do whatever you wish with the blend that I will be sending you. So let's get right into our cards. I love using different types of oracle cards just to help give us some messages from the plants. And I choose all of these just intuitively. I just ask the cards, what's a good message for the people that we're going to be watching these sessions, and what would be the most helpful for them? And so sure enough, Sanctuary came up for our overall retreat message, which was basically that self-care is essential if you want to share your light with others. Yesterday, I said, it basically is talking about the idea of you can't pour from an empty cup. And so examining our self-care and our care products and all of these things is really, really important, and something that we're going to be thinking about this week as we go through the different sessions. And then yesterday we had Hornbeam, which is telling us to revisit our habits and take a new approach. Of course, I am going to say that you should be taking an herbal approach, of course. And so Hornbeam helps us. It's for people that need to get more organized with their habits. And both of these and all of the cards that I'm using are from the Flowers Oracle by Antonella Castelli. And I think you can just find them on Amazon or search for those online. I might have gotten them on Etsy. That's another good place to get those sorts of things. But all of these cards that I'm using are one of the Bach flower essences. And I talked about those yesterday. So if you haven't seen day one, you can watch the replay for that and get some more information about the cards. So what is our card for today telling us? It is the flower message from Gentian. Gentian is a classic bitters plant. If you've ever used bitters or have any kind of bitter formulas, you'll see that Gentian is almost always included in that. And the message is that we need to have perseverance and confidence in ourselves, in our life goals, in our journey. And in this case, we're talking about sort of our health journey. Well, not sort of our health journey. We are talking about our health journey, because our life journey depends very much on our state of health. Our quality of life depends on that. And so this message says that it's really important to continue to have faith, even though you might be encountering some setbacks. Are you encountering setbacks in your health, in your goals for maybe getting rid of some things and using more herbal products? If that's difficult, you need to be able to trust the outcome of life events. And the card and the message from the plant is also that, make sure that you have faith in something, whether it be a spiritual faith, a faith in a philosophy, a faith in just the process of life itself. That's very important. So let's see here. So I thought that was great for today, because today we're going to be talking about more plants that can help us to really deal with summer seasonal allergies. So let me see here. Janet has a question. Yep. Okay. She has a question about essential oils. So I'm going to I'm just going to go ahead and answer that now. So Jana is asking that she has been hearing a lot of concerns about corporate manufactured essential oils. They're probably well-founded concerns. And using essential oils and ingredients in a lot of products. Now, the problem with essential oils, and I don't use a lot of them, but if I do, I buy them from an extremely reliable source. They are big money. And so there is a lot of fake products out there. And what I can do is I can share some reliable sources for oils. And it's my understanding, like, again, I don't use a lot of essential oils because of their kind of high intensity and not real sustainable type of manufacturing. But I believe that the oils that are part of the MLM, like the doTERRA and the Young Living, for the most part, are good quality oils. And there are some other, Eden Botanicals is one. And what's the other one? Do I have it down here? Nope, I don't have it down here, but another one that I can share. What I'll do is I'll put it in the Facebook group, a list of a couple places that are good essential oils. So she's saying, can you substitute a homemade herbal tincture or an herbal oil in a salve or balm recipe that calls for a store-bought essential oil? Now, yes, you can. Now, yesterday we talked a little bit about making an herbal infused oil. And this is my dandelion flower oil, which isn't necessarily, well, it's kind of for skin. It's for sore muscles more than anything else. So you can make an infused oil and substitute that for an essential oil in a recipe. Now, essential oils, when we're using 1 or 2 drops, we're scenting things with essential oils. So if you really want when you're making something like a lotion, you're adding the essential oil partly for that and partly for its properties. But essential oils work on the sense of scent, and those can have a very profound effect on our bodies. This is something I talk about a lot in my Soothing the Senses program that I do. So I don't want to get into it too much more here, but I have made a lavender infused oil. I've made a lavender infused gin, actually, and just using those as well. So yes, you can substitute those in. It's not going to be the same and it's not going to be as strong, but you're going to use a lot more than you would of an essential oil. So now there are some essential oils that are really good for respiratory health. And I'm not going to talk about those much today, but there are a few that if you can find a reliable source, like lavender, eucalyptus, peppermint oil is usually pretty safe because it's easy to manufacture. So there's my little spiel on essential oils. And so feel free to continue the conversation in the Facebook group about this if anyone else has any other things to add to that. All right, so let's get into the next part of our content. I wanted to answer that right then and there because I would have forgotten by the end of the session. So I came across this quote last year when I was doing this program, and from this Dr. Guyton, and it says, in his opinion, and I believe it's probably true, that all chronic pain, suffering, and diseases are caused by a lack of oxygen at the cell level. We need to breathe. Our oxygen intake is so incredibly important. I don't have to tell you that. But one of the things I liked about this quote that was so interesting is that it wasn't just about our breathing. It was about our cells getting the nourishment that they need. And I was very privileged to be able to go to attend a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within last November. And on one of the days, they focus completely on health because he believes, and I believe it's true as well, that if you are not healthy, like I was saying earlier, all your life goals and your big aspirations are not going to come to fruition if your body is not functioning at its top ability. And they were talking about cell health, like the things that you need to do to have energy specifically were to nourish and feed your cells and allow your cells to eliminate waste. So the cellular level is something to really think about when we're looking at our holistic approach to health, which is how I like to look at things. So let's get into a little bit now about the about allergies specifically. And allergies, of course, are preventing us from breathing properly. So let's see what we can do about those. So I'm just going to do a couple of definitions here up front, and then we'll get into talking about some herbs. And I want to talk about the difference between an allergy and a sensitivity. So an allergic reaction, if we're allergic to pollen, for example, would mean that our body thinks that this pollen or this substance is a foreign and dangerous invader. And when the body detects something, what it does is it puts the immune system on full-on alert and gets out there to attack whatever's invading us. Now, pollen in and of itself is not dangerous, but our body thinks it is. And so our immune system goes into full gear to do whatever it takes to eliminate the pollen or whatever else is coming in. Now, a sensitivity is more of an intolerance to something that isn't an immune response. But this occurs when there's just too much of something and we're just overwhelmed by it and our body cannot process it and cannot eliminate it. And as we'll find out tomorrow, one of the ways, of course, we eliminate toxins is through our skin. And so if we're wanting to deal with pollen, one way is to make sure that our elimination pathways are clean and open. That includes our liver, and we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. But this is a great example of when, even if you're not allergic to pollen, if the pollen looks like this, you're going to be sensitive to it. There's just so much in the air that your body's going to get overwhelmed and you're going to get stuffed up and start having some of these more urgent type of reactions in order to try to clean it out of your system. Now, what we tend to want to do is when let's say you are having a pollen reaction or an allergic reaction, hay fever, and you got to go to work and you've got to go to a meeting or things like that. So our tendency is, let's go to the drugstore and buy an antihistamine of some sort. And what that's going to do is that's going to suppress the reaction of the body, what it's doing to try to take care of this pollen that's invaded us, right? So my next slide is talking about what actually does that mean? Because we buy these antihistamines. Well, if it's an antihistamine, then what is a histamine, right? Like, what is that? So really what it is chemicals that our body makes that respond to the allergens. So what happens is the histamines are kind of going out there and working to try to get the allergens kind of scooped up off your skin or out of your body. We talked yesterday about how the skin has its own line of defenses right on the surface of the skin to try to stop things before they even get inside of our body. So all of these things that happen to us when we're allergic or having hay fever, sneezing, tearing up, swelling, itching, all of these things is part of the natural process of what our body's doing It's our natural body's defense system to try to get rid of these allergens. And this is the normal thing that our body wants to do. Mucus is good. It is surrounding these offending particles and grabbing them and enclosing them in mucus to try to get rid of it. And again, I talk about this more in my fall program where we're talking about the immune system more specifically. But when you take an antihistamine, you're stopping, just completely squelching this natural process. And that's not usually a good idea. So what we can do instead, of course, is we can use some plants that are going to help us work more with the body system to slow down the histamine reaction in a way that it doesn't completely shut it off, so that the body is still eliminating and handling these pollens that come in. So let me know if that makes sense to you in the comments. It can sometimes be really confusing, like, well, why is all this stuff happening to my head and all this stuff flushing? I just want this to stop, and it's rightfully so. So let's, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to get into talking a little bit about, like, well, why do we get allergies, and what is it about plants, and why do certain plants give us allergies and certain plants do not? And the answer has to do with the type of flower that a plant has. Now, we know that it's pollen that we're allergic to, but plants are very different in the way that they work with pollination. So some plants are pollinated by wind pollination, and that just means that they have a male flower that's separate from a female flower, and they're basically just, releasing all the pollen out into the air and hoping that it's going to land on a female flower close by. And so because the likelihood of that happening efficiently is relatively low, the plant needs to make a lot of pollen. Now, this plant here on the left is pine. And the truth is that pine pollen is actually very nutritious, and you can harvest it and you can do some things with it herbally. Now, more plants, I should say, are insect pollinated, or sometimes they have other weird ways that they're pollinated. And so they're not having to put their pollen out into the air and hope that it will hit the flowers nearby. They're depending on insects to pollinate. So anything that's an insect, or I should say not a wind pollinated plant, is not likely to give you much of an allergic problem or issues or whatever. So the main reason why we have spring allergies is because most trees are wind pollinated. Many, many trees are oaks and birches and beeches and all of these. And you'll see them blooming with their catkins hanging down, dangling out in the wind and releasing their pollen. So any type of wind pollinated tree can be an allergen. And we also have plenty of herbaceous plants that can be an allergen as well. Lots of grasses, which we see later in the summer and early fall. That's where the more late summer or fall allergies come in. It's a lot of times from grass pollen, or some of these other kind of what we consider to be more of a noxious weed. On the far right here is a pigweed, it's actually in the amaranth family, but that is wind pollinated. And then in the center here is a plant that most herbalists love and like to use a lot, and that is actually mugwort, and it is wind pollinated. It's in the Artemisia family, and those are wind pollinated plants. And one of the ways that you can tell the difference between a wind pollinated and a insect or non-wind pollinated plant is by the style of the flowers. You can see on the right here this beautiful peony with the big showy flowers, whose jobs it is to attract the insects over so that they will pollinate, whereas the wind pollinated flowers generally are not showy flowers. They tend to be dangly, or they tend to be very more they're not putting a lot of energy into making showy petals. They're putting all their energy into producing pollen. So let's see here. Where are we? And so just one last thing I want to share with you before we get to the plants, and that is I need to talk about one of the most important plants for helping us with pollen and hay fever. Now, there are two plants that are blooming at the same time every year, and one of them is wind pollinated and the other one is not. If you know what this plant on the right, the yellow flowered plant, does anyone know what that is? Put it in the comments. It is the plant that is most commonly blamed for causing allergic reactions. It is a beautiful yellow flower that grows out in fields in very large swaths, but it is not a wind pollinated plant. It is a insect pollinated plant. Oh, somebody got it right. Goldenrod. So goldenrod is often blamed for allergies when in fact the plant on the left is ragweed, blooms at the same time. You can see from the flower type of flower that it has that it's a wind pollinated plant. So a lot of this poor innocent goldenrod, and as I'm going to talk about, it's our star for preventing hay fever. And in fact, excuse me, in fact, both of these plants can be used herbally to help with hay fever. So let's find out a little bit more about the plants that can help us with that. Now, I've got my beautiful collection over here, and I got my little notes so I can make sure not to forget anything. And I'm going to, let's go ahead and start with goldenrod because it is one of the most important plants for helping us with not only, well, not necessarily, oh, I'm having a reaction right now, but for giving us, preparing our system for pollens and making us less susceptible to the different seasonal allergies. And I have two stories about that. When I was taking my herbal certification program, there was a woman in my class who had such bad allergies, I think to just about everything, that she was taking one of these like Zyrtex or something like that every single day, all year round. This just wasn't just during the summer months. And she started taking goldenrod and also nettle, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and was able to get off of that. It was I don't know if it was a prescription. I think it was just an over-the-counter medication, but she was able to stop taking that just from taking the goldenrod. And I thought, wow, this is awesome because my son has a lot of seasonal allergies as well. He's now 18. And so this last, I think maybe about 6 months ago or so, he decided that he would, you can only make people do so much. It doesn't matter if your mom's an herbalist, you still got to take the stuff, right? So I always had a bottle of goldenrod available for him. It's actually a goldenrod. I've got it right here. I hope he's not looking for it right now. Goldenrod and nettle, and then some lion's mane extract in there because it's just another thing he needs. So he decided to take this regularly. He takes it every day, starting sometime around Christmas, I think. And this year, for the first time that I can remember, since even he was a little kid, he did not have extreme spring allergies. And he tested positive for red maple allergy specifically. And I asked him a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, are you noticing a real difference? Because he would be just gushing and sneezing. And when he was little, we called it a sneasel attack. And it was terrible because there was nothing you could really do about it. But by taking this goldenrod tincture on a regular basis every day, it basically helps its body adapt to the decreased his sensitivity to the pollen. So I have nothing. I just cannot believe how great this has been for him. So I want to share a little bit more things about goldenrod. And so one of the things that a lot of these plants have in common is they have a compound called quercetin. And quercetin is just helps us. It's a natural sort of antihistamine that helps our bodies process pollen and not react as strongly to it. And let me see here. There was something else I wanted to say about goldenrod. Yeah, so the main thing about goldenrod is that it's very specific for your mucous membranes and helps to clear the inflammation. I mean, part of the reason why we can't breathe is because everything gets inflamed, and then our whole pathways get kind of blocked up from that. It's especially good for fall allergies. And believe it or not, you can have a combination of goldenrod and ragweed, which people call ambrosia because, nobody wants to take ragweed. I thought that was hilarious when I learned that. And you only need a few drops a day. It has bioflavonoids in it, which is similar to what green tea has. So it's really helping you. Specifically, if you get a lot of allergies with like red watery eyes and lots of mucus, then that's one of the best plants that you can take for that. But again, it's not going to help you in the moment. It's something you have to be committed to. What were we talking about earlier? We got to have faith that what we're doing is going to work. You got to take that every day. You got to be committed. And this is true about herbal remedies in general. They are not shutting down your systems. They're not acting in the same way as a lot of chemicals are. And so you have to give them a lot more time. When you're ill, time is what you should be giving yourself, time to rest and so on. So with the goldenrod, it's a daily commitment to do that. And, it's anti-inflammatory, all the good things that we want in a plant to help us with our allergies. So the other plant that I'm going to share a few more with you. This is purple dead nettle. And this recently showed up in my garden a couple of years ago. And it's not one that I'd had worked with as much, but it has some of these same similar properties. It's got the quercetin in it. It's an antihistamine. It's immunostimulating a little bit. We don't want to overstimulate our immune system when we have allergies because it's already trying to work to deal with these particles that are coming into us anyway. And not only is this have it, but also I am not brave enough to hold it by my bare hands, but this is the stinging nettle, which did sting me when I was harvesting it earlier today. And one of the things I wanted to show you about this has a lot of the similar properties, plus it's very nourishing. I think I talk about nettles on every single show. Now I can touch the flowers. I want to show you that, oops, if I can get it up there, that stinging nettle is now flowering. And so it's quiz time. Is this a wind pollinated plant or is this an insect pollinated plant? If you look at the type of flowers that are on there, they're kind of dangly, they're hanging down, and nettle actually has female and male plants separate. So these are wind pollinated. Yep. Wind pollinated. And now, I harvested this to show you, but I would not harvest nettle now once it starts to flower. Once it starts to flower, it starts to accumulate, I believe it's silica in there and some things that are just make it difficult for the kidneys to process. And so you need to harvest your nettle. We always hear about harvesting nettles early in the spring as a spring green. That is the time of year you want to harvest it. But I did want to show this to you so that you can see not only is it wind pollinated, but it's also an excellent allergy remedy. Nettle is one of those plants that you can harvest a lot of, and you can just dry it. You can dry it, and you can just have it just about every day. Like I said, the woman that I met through my training, she was having a quart of nettle tea and goldenrod every day in order to help her system stop reacting to all these pollens and allergens. All right, who else are we talking about today? What other friends do we have to visit with today? So not everybody has the purple dead nettle or nettle around, so I wanted to give you an option of both of those. They act very similarly. This is called dead nettle because it doesn't sting, and it's also in a different family. It's actually in the mint family, which we can tell by those square stems that it has. Now, let's talk about another favorite plant that is just, one of the top 10 to have in your apothecary, and that is chamomile. Chamomile also has antihistamine property. I'm trying to get this somewhere where you can see it in the background. And this is a little baby that I'm running out of room in my garden, but I think I'm going to be able to squeeze it in somewhere. So this chamomile plant is starting to put on its flowers, and it blooms for most of the summer. It makes these small little daisy type flowers. You can see on this how the white daisy flowers have folded back. A lot of times when you buy it commercially, it's gotten broken up more, and so you don't see the white flowers on it. This is German chamomile, but chamomile is again, another antihistamine. It's gentle. It's considered safe for everyone, children alike. And I have a story about chamomile. So years ago, my husband and I owned a music store, and we had a person brought in, people would bring in the old instrument that they found up in their grandparents' attic, right? And so a lot of times these instruments would have been sitting up there for so long and accumulated all kinds of mold and dust and who knows what. Now, my husband is prone to allergies and has had asthma. He doesn't have to take a regular inhaler, but he is prone to that. And so he opened up this instrument, and the smell of it was, he just closed it again. He's like, wow, I don't know what got into this, but this is not good. Now, the next morning he woke up, his entire face was swollen. His lips were like, he looked like in the movies, when somebody gets all stung by bees or whatever. And I was just, oh my gosh, like I couldn't even hardly look at him. If you're watching, honey, I still love you. Don't worry. But anyway, I didn't know what to do. So I made a batch of chamomile tea, and we had a washcloth, and literally I would take the chamomile tea, and when you would place it down, it was basically hives is what it was. Place it down on the hives. You could watch it go, literally when you pulled it off, it would shrink the hives down, and then it would come back. And he just used that to reduce the swelling over and over again for most of the day. And it was impressive to see how quickly it worked just as a topical application. So chamomile is another great, again, antihistamine, and it's also got an anti-stress. It's a relaxing nervine. So when we can't breathe, when we're all clogged up, it's stressful. And so the chamomile helps to also help us relax and have faith in the process that the plants are going to work for you. And it does have a minor ability for pain relief as well. And Jana says she was trying to comment, but she hit the sad face instead. Well, I will not take that personally, Jana. But thank you for telling me. Maybe I thought you were just like sad about your allergies or something like that. All right. So chamomile, another lovely plant to grow, and another, it reseeds itself. The reason why I still have the plant here is because I started a bunch, but then a whole bunch of it reseeded from last year. And let's see, I've got 2 more plants to share with you. And one of them, well, 3 actually, but one of them I don't have. One of them is mullein, which is kind of a general lung tonic. It's an expectorant. And so it helps you if you are got just a ton of gunk filled up in your lungs. And when we get allergies, what happens is we tend to get that all dripping down the back of our throat, and sometimes it can just build up, and mullein will help you with that. And it's also another plant that's good for just like your respiratory system toning. Nourishing and toning are what we want to do daily or regularly, so that our body is prepared when something comes along, that we're more healthy to start with. Now, this is not the best specimen of mullein, and so I almost didn't pick it, but my husband mowed down all the mullein that I was going to harvest. But anyway, but I thought, you know what? This is a good example of what do we do when we want to go out and collect. What if we come across something like this? Should I harvest this for medicine? And the answer is no, probably not. This plant is extremely stressed. And so its medicine is not going to be very healthy for us. Now, this is one of the kind of things that we talk about a lot in my course. We talk about how do we collect plants? What are we looking for? How do we sort through things? And so this is a very good way to think about it. It's got holes in it, and this was one of the better looking leaves. So I think it's partly because it's just been so cold and wet here lately, and I don't think it likes that very much. But anyway, mullein is another one that you can add to your sort of repertoire for general lung health. And then I wanted to, when I was researching for the show a little bit more, sure enough, one of my very favorite plants came up, rosemary. And it's not what I would have originally thought of when I would think about antihistamines, but it does have a antihistamine properties, and specifically for like if you've got allergic rhinitis, which is basically means I got the gunk and the things up in my sinus cavities and in my nose and whatnot. And it can help to reduce the inflammation that comes with allergies. And although we tend to think of rosemary as a culinary herb, it does make actually a really nice tea that you can just simmer it. You want to simmer it for a while because it's a kind of, if you've ever worked with the fresh rosemary, it's kind of a, not waxy, but it's kind of a tougher sort of a leaf because it comes from the Mediterranean where it's dry. It's got to be able to preserve its water on the inside. And so you want to make sure that you simmer it in order to use it as a tea. So there's been, rosemary is a plant that there's been a number of sort of, scientific studies on. But what I always find is that the scientific studies basically just prove what the folk herbalists have known for thousands of years. So rosemary is another one that you can add to your repertoire. And then I want to share with you one last plant, which isn't in bloom, and I don't really have it available right now, which is New England aster. And this last year, my friend, I think it was last year at this one, my friend Lucy came on and talked about how she had been using New England aster on a regular basis. She used to be on a daily maintenance inhaler, and then she would have to use a regular asthma inhaler for on a semi-regular basis. And so I had taken years ago, I took a workshop specifically on herbs for asthma because of my husband. And this was one of the plants that the person was talking about. And it is antispasmodic. When we're having an asthma attack, we're spasming, decongestant, diaphoretic, which means it helps you to sweat, and it's also an expectorant. And so it also has calming and nervine properties, because when we, in an asthma situation, I mean, I do not have asthma, but it's very scary. I can't breathe. It's not something you want to be experiencing. And so but the thing with the New England aster is it's similar to goldenrod in that it also is something you can take on a regular basis. And my friend was able to, she hasn't used her inhaler in several years since she started taking New England Aster on a regular basis. So anyway, that's our repertoire of plants that are good for lung health. And I wanted to share this other thing with you because, as I said, I'm opening up my class this week, and there's so much more to our health and to herbs than just, taking an herb instead of a pill, or taking an, and expecting our physical chemistry, biochemistry to change because it took this herb instead. There's a lot to our whole body. There's our energy body, there's our mental body, there's our emotional body, and all of these things have to be considered. And so I have a beautiful little book by Louise Hay of Hay House, who talks about what are the sort of emotional situations behind different types of dis-ease. And the lung represents, if you're having lung issues, it represents the ability or the inability to take in life, or fear. Fear is held in the chest. When we feel afraid, we hold it here. And it also is a place for grief, or depression is a lot of times held in the chest. It's very tight. So we need to look at all of these aspects when we are talking about our health. And so my question to you is, do you have the tools and skills to support your health goals and your self-care desires? We have health goals, but we also have like the things that we wish we could do. How would you like to be able to take a beautiful basket of herbs like this and create your own herbal apothecary from it? There are so many different things that you can make, that you can create from plants to support your wellness, from herbal oils to tinctures and extracts and vinegars. But what happens is each of these plants wants to be used in a different way to get the most benefits out of it. So how do you know what you're supposed to do with these different types of plants? And so that's what I help people learn about in my course. And it's called, the main part of the course is called Herbal Concoctions. And we take things like, here's rosemary. We learn how to extract it and make a vinegar, and what's it good for, and when do I use it, and how often should I take it? I see a couple of questions in the chat here about how much to take of these different herbs that I've been talking about. The goldenrod, it's not dropperfuls, it's a few drops. These are micro dosing for these things because you're doing it every day. And someone's asking, can we use these for pet allergies? Well, our pets often reflect our own health. So if your pet's having allergies, are you also having allergies? And, pets respond really, really well to flower essences because they don't have the mental problems that we have about, oh, I got to take this and I'm doing this wrong and so on. This is one of the things that we work on when we're going through the course. And so I wanted to share some information about the course because I am very passionate about making sure that people know how to use herbs for their own health. And so I'm calling it the Herbal Summer Bundle, but it includes my main course, which is Herbal Concoctions. And these are the essential skills for creating your own herbal self-care products. And I'm starting next week with our kickoff date. And that's sort of like our introductory day. And the main part of the course, again, is Herbal Concoctions. And this part of this is a pre-recorded course. And it shows you how to make all the different types of extracts that you need: alcohol extracts, glycerites, vinegars, honey or oxymels, which is like a honey vinegar mix, and infused oil. So we go through those 5 different kinds and can help you avoid the mistakes that you might make if you're just beginning. Then I show you all like the basic steps so that you will know how to make this on your own. I don't want you to have to come back and keep taking my courses. I want to give you these skills so that you can go out and you can make your own things. I spent about 6 years where I had no health insurance. And during this time, I began to rely completely on my own herbal apothecary, my herbal pantry, as I like to call it, in order to support my own health. Thank goodness I had these skills and knew what to do. That's actually the time period when I took my herbal training so that I could do that for myself. But just having a pre-recorded course, even if it's good, you're not going to do it. Okay, let's get real here, people. How many times have you bought a course and you never finished it or didn't even start it? I definitely have some like that. So this course is a combination of this pre-recorded just for the background plus 5 live Zoom sessions. So we have our kickoff session on June 28th, and then we alternate between Wednesdays and Thursday nights. We'll get ready. We'll actually start creating our concoctions, putting our stuff into the different menstruums that we're going to be using. We take a week off, take a couple weeks off in between while we're letting our concoctions brew, so to speak, infuse, I guess would be the right word. And we will be checking in throughout that time period. And we do that because many of you are already in the Cultivated Life community, which is my online course portal. But what I have in there is a specific group that's just for people that are taking this course, and then we can share questions and that sort of thing. I see Angela on here. She took the course last summer. Now I also have a couple bonuses, which is you get the recordings from this particular retreat to have as long as you want and go back and review them if you want them. And my other bonus is, well, one of the things we're going to be making during the summer is we're going to be making and starting some of these amazing infused oils. And again, there's some tricks to making them to make sure they come out good and they don't mold and all that sort of thing. But what do you do with the oils after you make them? You can just stick them on your skin straight up, or you can make them into lotions and salves and all of these other next step products. So one of the things we'll be doing as part of the course is we'll be doing this luscious lotions workshop, which I record. Again, it's a pre-recorded course that you can go in and watch on your own, but we'll also be going over that in the live sessions. Because again, everybody has questions and everybody knows, everyone's coming into this with a different set of preset knowledge. And so that's why the live sessions are so incredibly important. So I'm putting this all together. Some people are going to be mad at me because I'm actually charging less for it than I charged last time. It's been like $349 in the past, but I am offering it for just $288, or you can do 2 payments of $150. And I'm going to go ahead and put the link. If you want to check out more information about it, I will put it into the, I'm not sure where if this is going to go. I think it's going to go to, it went to YouTube, but I'll stick it also in the Facebook group as well. If you're interested in just going, it's got like a whole page that gives you the description of everything. And so that, again, like I said, is going to be kicking off next week, starting on the 28th. So if you're interested, feel free to text me or ask me any other questions about it, and I'm happy to give you some more information about it. Let's see here. So before we end, I want to give you your day to go deeper, and I want to make sure that I answer the questions in the chat. So Angela was talking about dosing. Yes. Oh, and she says she made a honey with goldenrod, which is what I'm going to be doing this year, because that's also another thing that you can do with it, because then you're getting the pollen benefits from the honey as well, as long as you're using a local honey. So yes, I would imagine you could use the honey. The honey is not going to be quite as potent as the extract. And one of the things that I wanted to show you quickly, we're running out of time here because we've got our VIH coming up, but I wanted to just show you what you end up with. So this is the extract, and we start out with usually a vodka. I found an organic vodka that I love. And so after we infuse our herbs in it, we end up, okay, come on, this is good. It's almost gone. That's a good sign. It ends up taking on all the properties of the herbs in that. And then you just simply put a few, you can either just put them droppers directly in your mouth, or you can mix it with water, depending on what it is. Some herbs taste really nasty, so you need to mix them with water first. You can also add those to a tea and so on. So, okay, I did answer that. She asked about pet allergies. Oh, and Robin is saying that she uses mullein leaves to make bundles that we add to our outdoor fires to keep the bugs away. I love it because that is so cool, because mullein is actually a smokable herb. You can dry it and powder it up and roll it up or put it in a pipe or whatever you want to do. And it's actually healthy to smoke it. And there are a lot of herbal smoke blends available on the market now as well. Not that that's new. People have been smoking that for years. So anyway, let's finish up here because we've got 3 minutes. And I wanted to challenge you today we're talking about persevering and having faith and moving forward with, improving our health and just feeling better. So one way to do that is we got to know where we are. Where are we starting right now? Which health issues do I need help with? So you can take an inventory of what's going on and determine what needs the most attention right now. And I have this other question. Do you believe that you can heal? A lot of times we get so stuck in the sort of ownership of our illness. I've gone through Lyme for many years, and I was just visiting my herbalist last week, and I was like, I decided I was not going to be the Lyme. I've got Lyme. I decided not to take it on, but you still have to be able to believe that you can move through these different diseases that we have. We've got to let go of our fear and breathe. Now, this is a picture of elder, which is another plant that can be very useful for respiratory health as well, the elder flower. So thank you, everybody, for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with for your go deep, go more than skin deep challenge there. Put it into the Facebook group, or you can put it in the comments down below the YouTube video, and I will check both places and put your name in to win a prize. So I'll see you again tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern time for our next session, which is going to be more about whole health and specific skin health as well. So I will see you then, and have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.